Rich loves a cruise. I enjoy a cruise, but I don't love it as much as he does. He loves them.
I think we're box checkers. You know, we want to go here. Beautiful. It's amazing. Lock it into our memory. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the people. Enjoy the sights. I don't need to see this 7 times. You know, I don't need to go to sleep, wake up, and see the same thing.
Unless it's Key West.
Unless it's Key West. Being able to go there each night, you wake up, you're there. You wake up, and, you know, even if you wake up early enough, you can kind of see the rolling into the city, and the views, especially in the Mediterranean, are just outstanding. What's not to love about that?
So a lot of the times when people in the points of miles game are talking about taking their vacations, they're talking about taking some of these life-changing first class, business class flights to amazing destinations, but you never really hear about the folks that cruise, you know, go by water, by sea, not by air. You know, you end up in these destinations, and I think there's an interesting argument for people who cruise and can hit a lot of different destinations and not have to pay so much money for hotels or flights, and actually you might be able to get a more enjoyable experience versus flights. But I wanted to get some people here who have experience with that, and for this interesting conversation, a theory of mine. So Mr. Rich and Mrs. Beth here, so thank you for joining me today for this video. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So I just wanted to get into it. So I reached out to you the other day because I remembered on our first live stream together, and if you guys haven't watched that, check that out. Great conversation. Rich is a great guy. But he spoke about something I never really hear in the points of miles game, which is, you know, cruising. Because I guess the main thing is because a lot of people, when they cruise, they realize most of the time they're not being able to pay with their points of miles. They have to pay cash. So we're going to get into some ways that you can actually pay with points of miles, but you actually outlined an interesting argument for why cruises are interesting, and maybe kind of changed my mind a little bit on cruising, where I remember you recounted a story where you guys went, it was somewhere in Europe, and you were able to hit like 5 different countries all along the path. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, wow, you can hit each country, go to, you know, enjoy the country, come back on the cruise. So could you outline exactly why you guys love cruising and how this works into your whole like travel strategy?
Yeah, I mean, we think it's the greatest way to travel because, you know, it takes all of the stressful situations out of the equation. Now, they obviously you do have to fly to the boat. There's no cruises out of the Dallas area where we live, but so there is flying still involved. But I mean, you don't have to hop to different places, or you don't have to pick one destination for your entire vacation, because most of the times when we go to a city, and it's different for different people, of course, but when we go to a city, we hit all the main spots. We check that box and we're ready to move on. I know it's like a weird thing for some people to think, but I think we're box checkers. You know, we want to go here. Beautiful. It's amazing. Lock it into our memory. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the people. Enjoy the sights. I don't need to see this 7 times. You know, I don't need to go to sleep, wake up, and see the same thing.
Unless it's Key West.
Unless it's Key West. But that's a different kind of vacation. I love you. It's just a different kind of vacation. You're not there for the sights. You're there for the beach ambiance and, you know, just relaxation, great weather. Yeah, that's different. But, you know, when you're going through Europe, there's so many cities. Like, I don't want to spend 7 days in Rome. No. Like, we barely wanted to spend 1 day in Rome. It was the great stuff. The food was amazing. Boy, was it crowded. It was crazy crowded. And if we had chose Rome for 10 days, forget it. It would not have been fun. We flew into Barcelona. You got your hair blown out. That's an inside joke. Then we went to another place in Spain. We were supposed to go to France, but they last minute the port, too many boats or something. So we went to Monte Carlo, Rome, and then Sicily, right? And then the Amalfi Coast, and then Sicily. And then we went to 2 places in Greece. Skip that. And then Montenegro, Split, Croatia, and then Trieste, Venice. They changed the port because you can't dock into Venice anymore. So there's Trieste, which we were pissed about it at first. We're like, we're not docking in Venice. Like, what did we pay for? But Trieste, amazing, and we're so glad. And we were kind of underwhelmed with Venice anyway, but being able to go there each night, you wake up, you're there. You wake up, and even if you wake up early enough, you can kind of see the rolling into the city, and the views, especially in the Mediterranean, are just outstanding. So you're rolling in, you grab some breakfast, you go hit the town all day, enjoy the food, enjoy the people, enjoy the sights, and then you're exhausted. You come back and you just eat dinner, go to sleep. You're in the next city. Like, what's not to love about that?
Logistically speaking,
Yeah.
Hotels, you can check in usually by 2, and then you have to check out by 10. So if you were to try to do that by car, logistically speaking, it's just not very practical if you want to hit a lot of different spots. So I think cruising is, for certain destinations, it can be ideal.
Right.
It's a lot more relaxing. Some people don't mind or are better at logistics than others, but the driving, renting a car, the traffic, it just takes all of that out, and you just get to sit back and have a good time. It's so relaxing and so enjoyable. Like, there are certain destinations I think that are worth going on a cruise versus going by car. So I think Alaska is a great spot to get to see.
Gorgeous, yeah.
All
but
the
you're
different
not going to
places
drive there.
by water, or you're not going to fly in.
You're not going to fly in and drive around. You're not going to fly from spot to spot, or you're not going to. Why are you going to stay 7 days in Anchorage?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
The Caribbean islands, you can hit a lot of great spots taking cruises there, and then of course Europe.
And you could go to one island and just chill. Like, if that's your thing, just chilling. But if you want to experience each one, the great thing is to do like a cruise to each one, find your favorite, and then go back and like chill on that island.
So there's a lot of interesting things there that you said. So like I actually like Beth's perspective, mentioning like, well, logistically everything's a little bit easier, but you said it's almost like more relaxing or more enjoyable. I think a lot of people forget, like, when we're traveling, maybe we're crazy and we want to get the crazy flight and land in the crazy place and the craziest hotels, and sometimes you have to move different hotels, and that could be kind of especially for my wife. Speaking for my wife, it's a lot to bounce from hotel to hotel, or fly from area to area, or in this case country to country. It's just not necessarily like feasible. And even if we have the points of miles, is it an enjoyable time? Especially for most of us who don't have like infinite time, like you have like certain time off, and that's it. Now, how do you feel about on the cost comparison? Because a lot of people in our community are, like I said, just, how could I redeem my points of miles to get the best flight for maybe a singular destination that once I'm there, can bounce around? Are there ways that you've been able to, I guess, justify the cash price versus paying with, points of miles that you've accrued to cover the entire vacation? Or what are your thoughts on our game and how cruising applies to it?
Yeah, like if you're someone like Dugras, who refuses to pay for any travel cash at all, right? That's just not his thing. Then it's not going to work for you, because you're probably not going to be able to redeem enough points for a cruise. We want to cruise, and part of that is also we vacation with my parents. We want to spend as much time with my parents while we can. We're empty nesters, and so we can kind of do that now. And so we use that to earn points. We pay for the cruises, generates a ton of points that we then, all of our other vacations and flights and whatever, then those are all free.
That's very true. So, that's a good point. Like, so actually using the cruises, whatever the cost is, are there any particular cards you use to like get the most value back, like the most points?
Yeah, we use the Sapphire Reserve, because you're getting 3x on any travel, which it'll code for that. So it's 3x. The best one is the Fairwinds. The Fairwinds credit union card, where you're getting 5x on anything travel, and then it has a 1.5, a 50% bonus on the points when you redeem that for their travel portal. So it's like 7.5x essentially on. So that's kind of huge. That's kind of a card that sort of popped up out of nowhere. Matt, I saw it from Matt Clausen, and then I started researching it, and I did a video on it, and then Luke Points and Miles did a video on it.
Yeah.
He actually got the card and did all the research in the portal itself. So, but yeah, that's a good one for cruises for sure. But otherwise, you could use any good 3X card.
Yeah, I believe Lonnie of Call Me Lonnie, he did a very similar thing. He loves cruising as well. I think he actually like books them in advance when the like before the cruise even exists, like whatever the Royal Caribbean, like Star of the Seas, and
right
Planet of the Seas, whatever it's called,
the one with the big huge one with the amusement park, the Disney icon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Galaxy of the Sea, all these different types. he'll prepay for that, and I believe he does it with his reserve, and I think there's some ways that he does it somehow through a portal, but I might have to like put that back in there. I forgot what he actually said for a live.
And yes, I booked Royal Caribbean Icon of the Seas, world's largest cruise ship, fully for my family of 3 in a suite, by the way, with United Miles.
That's crazy.
We just booked their new ship, Star of the Seas. Haven't even launched yet. we just booked a room on it for next year as well.
You're pre-ordering cruises while the rest of us are struggling to find a flight. Have you ever tried to buy a cruise with points and miles?
Yeah, I mean, some of them have credit cards that you could use to redeem that way, but they don't. You don't earn very well on those. I mean, honestly, I use the cash that you save by redeeming points, and then consider that what you're using for the cruise. I mean, I think if you're cruising, you're probably not someone who's penny pinching. If that makes sense. Like if you're early on in your financial journey, then you're probably not cruising. You could do like Carnival and stuff. Carnival and stuff. Yeah. Royal Caribbean, it's not bad.
But
Viking's more high end. Yeah.
We're kind of mid-range.
Yeah, we're like, what do they call that? Sub luxury,
middle,
like the Volvo of cruises, not exactly.
Yeah, we're not driving a Porsche yet.
Yeah, no Porsches, no Porsche cruises. So we do Oceanas. We've done a couple times. We're about to do some boutique one right now. We're this year we're doing 2 cruises. We're going to flying into Switzerland, staying there for a few days, and then we're getting on a 10-day river cruise from Switzerland through Germany and stuff into Amsterdam. So we're looking forward to that one, and then we're Puerto Rico. We'll be at the creator meetup in Puerto Rico, and then as soon as that's over, we're jumping on a cruise from Puerto Rico around through the Bahamas and stuff. And it's not the Bahamas, it's the Caribbean. That's one.
The Caribbean. That's great. So what percentage of you guys' travels do you think is cruising versus just straight flights?
If we're doing a big trip, it's probably going to be a cruise, right?
Wow.
Every year. So we did Alaska, we did that Mediterranean one. We've both been on Caribbean cruises early on before we met and stuff. So
it just seems so interesting to me. Like
you're not paying for food. A lot of times you don't have to pay for drinks either. It just depends on it depends on the cruise and then what the packages they offer.
Let's talk about that. So sometimes they have promos and you'll get to pick, depending on the cruise, but they'll either do like 3 free excursions, a cash amount that you can spend on board, whether that's in the
casino
or in the shopping, or the third option would be unlimited drinks.
Wow.
So they're going to make money regardless. Obviously, it's designed for the cruise to make money, so nothing's a steal of a deal. But we're not a fan of the cruise excursions whatsoever. I feel like they're tourist traps.
Yeah, we've had so many nightmares and heard of so many nightmares of the built-in, baked-in excursions for the cruise lines. So some of the ones we went on, like the Alaska one, it was some native, learn the heritage of the Eskimo kind of thing. So we got stuck in there just listening to a guy with like 30 other people, listening to a guy talking about totem poles for like 45 minutes. And we're just like, this is not what we signed up for. We're going to get back in the boat. And, you can't. It's on a bus. You get on a bus
Oh.
and
You're stuck.
you're stuck there. So we were just
It's
there
your whole
just
day.
dying.
It's
Just
your
It
whole
is.
day.
terrible.
I think Rome's a good example.
Oh my gosh, Rome.
So
Yes.
so the Oceania cruise that we went on, we stopped in Rome. All of these people paid, I think it was $850, give or take, per person on the cruise to take the Oceania tour, to get on a big bus and go see the Vatican and
Rome's not
and
on the coast,
and the Colosseum.
so you have to you had to dock and then drive to Rome.
So everybody pays quite a bit of money for this tour through Oceania. They get on a big bus, but the bus isn't legally allowed to drive on the main roads. There are certain roads that the big buses can drive on in Rome. So instead of taking a straight shot there, which is about an hour and a half, they went on a 3-hour detour to finally get there. Okay, so they get off and they go to the Vatican and they go to scan their tickets, and their tickets were for the wrong day.
Oh my God.
Then the Oceania tour guy left. So they had to walk back to their bus and sit and wait. And then the driver finally just drove them back to the boat. So that was an $850 experience that you're stuck, you've committed to.
I'm sure they got their money back, but they didn't get to do Rome.
Whereas we paid for a private tour.
Right.
So our guy showed up with
It was $1,000 total, $250 a piece.
I think it was more than that, but I think it was. I'll bring the receipts. It was about $650. We paid the most we paid.
It was the most
in
expensive
Rome.
one. Yeah.
So we had a guy showed up with a splinter van.
It was $650 for us, $650 for them. That's what it was. It was like $1,200.
Who do you believe? Who are you going to bet on?
Well,
so he shows up. It was similar price point. He shows up in a van. We all pile in, and he has a driver with him that they took turns driving, so they could just pull right up to the Vatican. We would jump out of the car, and then the other guy got in the driver's seat and took off the van. There was never any parking. It was the creme de la creme experience with him, and we got to see 3 times what the other cruise was going to see.
Right.
Rich loves a cruise. I enjoy a cruise, but I don't love it as much as he does. He loves them. And dragging luggage.
Right. Luggage.
Dragging luggage through Europe is not super fun. So quick tip. When they say you're on a 2nd floor apartment in Venice, that means the
7th floor.
The 3rd floor, because the 1st floor is considered the ground floor.
Oh, I see.
And there's no elevators.
And then the 1st floor is technically the 2nd. So it is very, we found ourselves carrying everybody's luggage up 4 or 5 flights of stairs.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, 90% of it I was lugging up, but you did help. I appreciate the help.
And they're cobblestone streets, and it's just a lot to drag.
And my mom overpacks. Let's just say that.
Have you only had like good experience on cruises? Like, has it always been good, or did you have any other like bad or weird experiences? Never.
Well, I will say there's in life with everything, there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
So you are giving up a little bit of freedom to. I wish I could go and have dinner in Europe when I'm there, but when I'm taking a cruise, I'm going to have lunch because I'm going to be back on the boat by a certain time. So it does restrict the experience. But like Rich said, we kind of used it as an excuse to see a lot of places, to kind of have a taste of everything. And then if we want to go back and say, spend a week in what was my favorite spot? Montenegro. We now got to, now we could go back potentially and spend a whole week there and really immerse yourself in it. So I think that, not being able to spend more time, some cruises will stay overnight places. So you do have that option. So that's interesting. I know in a couple of places in Aruba, we'll spend 2 or 3 days ported in Aruba. Other downsides. So we're the youngest people on the boat.
It tends to be an older.
Interesting.
And so, everything we've been on is we were like one of 5 younger couples, and we're not that young. I mean, she's way younger than me, but I'm not that young. So, But it was still, we were on the younger side of everybody usually. And that's just what we picked. Now, if you go on a Carnival, we're probably the oldest. So
Right. We're not Carnival people. We're not Royal Caribbean people. We're more like small niche boats that are slightly higher end. We want to be able to get into ports and get out. I don't want to stand in line. So like for Oceania, and what's the other one? Viking, there's no line.
Celebrity.
I've read about other issues on cruises as far as crime. So I think some with those party boats do have some trouble because it's not, there's no jurisdiction in the United States, and the police in the United States won't have any control over coming in and investigating. So there have been maybe some crimes that have happened against women. I'm not sure what I can say, but, or, you know, things that happen on the boat that kind of go unsolved. Because there isn't a police force. So you need to always be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your alcohol level, be careful who you meet, because they maybe not are who they say they are. But those are the kind of cruises that we go on.
No.
And then, of course, you know, two other issues I think would be health, like you get sick on a cruise.
Oh,
really?
Our Alaska cruise.
Well, first, if you just get sick. So let's say you get sick and you have to go down to the sick bay, that is not going to be covered on your standard insurance. So people are surprised when they have a $42,000 medical bill for 3 days in the sick bay. So there is a credit card, I think, that you can book the cruise with that has additional health insurance.
Yeah, so if you do like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, they have the illness insurance and all that kind of stuff. So if you're booking with a credit card with those insurance things, and that goes with just being sick in a different country that your American insurance isn't going to cover, then you know it's good to have those insurance. That's why one of the reasons I love the Chase Sapphire Reserve is probably my favorite card. Is such good coverage on insurance. You know, if you have to be care flighted back to the United States, they've got coverage for that. You know, so and you can buy that, so you can pay for that insurance. But by the time you pay for that for a couple of trips, it's probably going to end up being the Sapphire's annual fee anyway. So
it's definitely something to think about. And then as far as being sick or maybe actually a life-threatening issue, when we were cruising to Alaska, they actually had to stop the boat in the ocean coming back because a gentleman had a life-threatening emergency, and they had to helicopter in and drop a big basket, and it took about 45 minutes to get him loaded.
The weather was not great. It was like rainy and stuff, so they had the helicopter hovering over the boat, dropping the basket. They had all the pool area blocked out, so a couple of us were like peeking out. I actually have video of it, but they were peeking out of the portholes watching this basket come down. So they had to put the guy in there, and then his wife also got in there, who was perfectly fine, but to go with her husband, because otherwise she would have had to wait.
I was probably having a good time.
You'd stay, babe. I would not blame you whatsoever.
I'll see you later, Rich.
Speaking of leaving people behind.
Oh yeah. So bring your passport. Just because you're on an Alaska cruise.
We were leaving out of Seattle.
Coming back to Seattle.
And coming back to Seattle.
But because one of the stops was Victoria, Canada, you have to have your passport.
Oh, jeez.
So my dad forgot his passport. And he's just standing in line going, what are they going to do? Not let me on the boat? I just won't get off in Canada.
Yeah,
Dad, that's not how this works.
I'm an Army veteran.
Yeah, I got my military ID. What more do they want? I just won't get off the boat in Canada. They didn't let him on the boat.
So we literally sailed away.
We sailed away, and my dad is still in Seattle he had to go to the passport office, get a new passport. We sailed away. He had to fly to privately to Ketchikan.
Whoa.
Spent the day there and waited until we got there.
Where he spent
he had to spend the night there, right? And then waited until and then when we got there, he was able to get on the boat. But because there's this weird law called the Jones Act, where if you get on the boat not at the destination it originally left, you can't get off the boat in the same country. So, or in America. So because we left America in Seattle, and we were coming all the way around and coming back to Seattle, and he got on at a different stop. He had to get off in Canada.
Wow.
And then he took a ferry. He took a ferry back to this, but it was just so, I mean, it was it's the greatest story of our family of all time.
So when he has to go back to Canada, does that mean they dropped you off back in America, and then the ship like went back to drop him off? Yeah.
So we went
we went to
all the way around,
six
and then
different stops.
luckily Canada was the last stop before we went back to Seattle. He got off in Canada and then took a ferry over to Seattle. It was just crazy.
He must have said, "This is so BS," you know.
Yeah.
So then let me ask you guys. So that's a crazy story. So that's good to see. So I see the pros, I see the cons, and my last question is: so I need you guys' help. My wife is deathly afraid of water. Does not want to be in the middle of the ocean. I don't blame her. What would your advice be? Well, you love it, Rich. I mean, you say
I don't. It weirds me out. Like
Really?
I got the only panic attack I've ever had was driving up the coast of California on the one or whatever, right? It's right on the edge, and I'm driving and I'm looking over at the ocean, and it goes forever, and my heart just started and I didn't understand what was going on, but it was just the overwhelming, like the gravity of the ocean being so huge, and it could just swallow you up, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, if a tsunami's coming, you are just effed.
Right.
And yeah, and then I feel like that on the boat too. So I definitely prefer cruises that aren't in the middle of an ocean. Like cruising to Hawaii weirds me out a little bit.
Yeah. So I think the answer is,
Stay
you
by
have
the
to
coast.
stay by the coast, which is what we did. You fly to Barcelona, and then you can see the coast the whole time.
Yeah.
It's right there.
So it's not too bad.
You're not in open water.
Because
So
before that, you were
understand what
talking
your
about
wife is
getting a
saying.
sailboat and doing the sailboat thing, and that nixed that. She was like, "It's going to be this dark at night. No, we're not doing a sailboat ever."
That's scary.
In the middle of no.
Oh, geez. I see. So go big or go home, I guess is the idea. Interesting. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for outlining the argument of cruises versus just flights. And I think both could work in unison. I like the idea that you said, like, cruising to get a taste of all different areas. If you really love it, use your points and miles, go vacation there, do a big long stay. I love it. I think it's really cool. If you guys want to check out Rich's channel, I'll put it on the screen right here. Also, his website that has literally like it's the best points of miles website imaginable. So definitely go check that out as well. It's free to do so. And then thanks again, Rich and Belt, for being here today. Appreciate you guys.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.